Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Casey, and for the last several weeks, my husband Alan and I have been working on renovating the kind of scary dungeon-like bathroom in our basement. When we bought this house, the basement and the bathroom were partially finished, but kind of poorly finished, especially the bathroom. This bathroom, I don't think had ever been fully finished. And it kind of looked like they had started doing some things and maybe got overwhelmed and gave up. So we have decided to do a complete overhaul of the space and give ourselves a legitimate second bathroom in this house. The shower and the toilet were hooked up to plumbing and they worked, but they were in pretty poor shape. The toilet wasn't fastened to the floor well enough. The floors were really uneven. The shower was up on this weird wooden platform, and we think it was done to kind of make the plumbing work for the shower insert that they used, and they just didn't want to move the drain or do much with the drain at all, which I can kind of understand. The wood was not really great quality wood. It looked like they might have been thinking of tiling on top of it, but they ended up just putting this like faux terrazzo finish on all of the concrete floor and the wood platform that they had built for the shower. And it just didn't look good. It looked pretty awful actually. And that finish was starting to flake off. There were a lot of signs of water damage along the bottom of the walls, and so we knew we were going to have to address all of that. So while I was upstairs finishing the kitchen a few weeks ago, Alan started down here demolishing some parts of the basement so that we could get started on finishing this bathroom. It was kind of icky feeling, and so we also wanted to do a tile shower, so we wanted to get that shower out of here and take out the platform. So once we had the drywall removed in this space, we could see the stud walls, the structure, the framing behind the walls, and we noticed that there was a significant amount of water damage on the base plate of our stud walls. So we knew we wanted to replace that with treated lumber. That would allow us to have that wood directly on the concrete and avoid damage to the stud walls from the moisture transfer from the concrete to the wood. And to do this, we basically just cut out the bottom plate and wedged in a new plate.
Why don't you
Sweet.
vacuum?
Vacuum? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You got it, baby. I'm gonna kind of tilt this.
I gotta trim this one too, don't I?
Well, I'm saying you may not need to. Hey, hand me one of those hammers. All right, I want you to just push a little bit against the wall so it doesn't shift too much. See, we're in. All right, hammer a little bit on your side. There we go, baby.
All right, you got
Okay,
it.
do just a little bit more because we're kind of just barely.
Here?
Okay, go. Yep, that's good. Okay, we'll have
Easy.
to just, oh, sorry, I thought that was wedged. Okay, we'll have to like adjust that when we nail it. Brace right there. Ready? Okay.
That looks good.
Oh yeah, it's in there.
All right, yeah, you got her.
That was a workout. New bottom plate is in. We're just gonna have to kind of reinforcement on these. The rest of them are wedged in there pretty good. We also got this tool called a ram set to nail the studs to the floor. I don't think that some of the studs were even nailed to the floor. Nice.
Okay, here we go.
Oh yeah, that one got deeper.
That one had a little more spice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Woo, hello. In there? Oh yeah. once we got all of that replaced, the walls looked so much better and we were ready to move forward with the rest of the renovation process. We also straightened a couple of the walls and replaced a few of the vertical members because they were just kind of chopped up weird. They just did a lot of weird things down here, and I'm sure they had a logic for it. But when we were looking through everything and kind of assessing the condition of all the walls, we realized that we could replace a few of the studs and make the wall straighter and just kind of a neater construction and a little bit more sturdy. We also noticed that the plumbing for the shower drain could be simplified quite a lot, and it was just really funky. So we cut it off. We were going to start kind of fresh with the shower plumbing. So next we had to prep the shower drain for our new shower pan. We decided to go with a company called Tile Ready for our shower pan. They create these manufactured shower pans that are already waterproofed, so it really makes the process of creating the shower floor a lot easier. But in order to use that shower pan, we had to create a new PVC connection from the floor drain to the shower drain. That also meant that we had to widen the hole in the concrete around that shower drain so that we could get the PVC plumbing pieces in there, because on one side it was just a little too close. We also needed to go a little bit deeper so that we could cut the pipe down a little lower and install the new PVC pipe fittings in a location that made sense for where the shower pan was going to be sitting on the floor. So we rented a jackhammer from Home Depot and spent a day trying to chip away some of the concrete. We also used this jackhammer to chip away some of the concrete that was left over from what appears to be a previous mortar bed of some sort. I don't know what they had here, but it looks like something was built here that they had removed, and there was just a lot of kind of lumpy concrete that was a lot higher than the rest of the concrete. So we wanted to get that chipped down and kind of get it as close to level as possible, and we are planning to come through and pour some self-leveling concrete. So we just wanted to prep the concrete for that. Now, before we could install the shower pan, we also had to build out the walls just a couple of inches. I'm just going to trace around the perimeter of this now that we've got it in place where we want it, so that I know where to put our little build-out walls. Now, there were a couple of options. We could have tried to move the drain a couple of inches, but that would have been a much more involved process, requiring us to chip away a lot more concrete, which is something we did not want to do. We had a little bit of space to play with in here, so we decided just to build the walls out a couple of inches on two sides where the shower is going to fit into the corner. And that was actually pretty straightforward and easy to do. To rip this stud down to about 2 5/8 inch so it would fit in the space, and it does have a little bit of a bow in it, so we're just gonna have to clamp this to get the bow out, and then we'll nail it into the concrete. Then we could actually install our shower pan. Now this was one of the, well, there were a lot of big things that we're doing in this basement renovation that felt really intimidating. I mean, jackhammering the concrete floor, that felt kind of intimidating, and it wasn't that bad. We managed to do it. But getting this shower pan installed felt big because not only did we have to set it into a thick mortar bed, but we also had to simultaneously line it up with the drain position and get it into place within a matter of seconds before the PVC glue dried. So this was something that we kind of choreographed. We practiced it like 6 or 7 times before we actually installed it, just to make sure we kind of had our procedure really nailed down before we got into this stuff, because once we placed it on there, it was on there. We needed to make sure that we were in the right position. So following the manufacturer's instructions for tile ready shower pans, and after watching several YouTube videos and practicing over and over again, we laid a really thick mortar bed, we glued the pipe fitting and put it into place, and it worked out. It went actually pretty well. Working with the mortar was actually not that bad. I was really anxious about this process because I thought, God, I'm gonna put the mortar in here, it's just gonna spread everywhere. But the mortar was actually pretty workable, and it pretty much held its shape pretty well. It's kind of interesting. It's actually very malleable, but it kind of stays in place. So that part wasn't as bad as I anticipated. All the way to the edge on the outside, on the curb edge.
Oh.
And then just an inch from the wall on the wall side. Ready?
All right, we'll do the primer. Ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Primer. Primer on the shower drain. Glue. It's okay. And glue.
Ready?
Let's get for the back corner. And placing that pan felt like such a huge leap forward in this project. It was so nice to have that part finished, but it was a huge relief when it was done. Ready?
Yeah, it's way up.
We're level. We're level. So I mentioned that our concrete floors were super uneven and we needed to level the floor. So we used a product called Sika self-leveling compound or concrete or something. Anyway, they make a lot of different types of self-leveling compound. This was just some that we found at Home Depot. So we made sure to scrape away any of the loose bits of that kind of flaky terrazzo finish that they had put on the floors. And then we also used spray foam insulation around all of the gaps at the bottoms of the stud walls to make sure that the concrete didn't flow out of this room. And then also put a couple of barriers and doorways for the same reason, just to make sure we kept the concrete contained once everything started kind of leveling out. We also prepped the floors with a couple of coats of a concrete primer. Then we poured the self-leveling concrete. Again, this was one of those things I thought, gosh, this stuff's probably just gonna go crazy, but it was actually pretty workable. It does flow pretty easily, but it's also easy to work into the spaces that you need it to go. So I just used a trowel to kind of make sure it got into all the corners and kind of did a little bit of light leveling with the trowel and then let the concrete kind of do its thing. It does level out quite a bit. We only have one little area that we're gonna have to kind of use a product called Feather Finish on later when we get to the tile to kind of bring that up just a little bit around our toilet. That area was especially uneven, so we'll have to do a little bit further leveling. But for the most part, that self-leveling concrete worked amazingly, and it really did level out the floor like perfectly. It was really satisfying. Once we had the shower pan installed, we had all the floors prepped, I could work on installing the concrete backer board for the shower walls and the drywall for the rest of the walls. Now there are a few different systems that you can use to create the walls of a shower or a bathtub surround. We decided to go with the concrete backer board. It was the one that I felt the most comfortable with after watching different tutorials and kind of reading up on different products. This little bit works great. I got like a special bit for screwing in drywall screws so they don't over drill. Drywall screw. I can't even talk. That was glorious. Drywall screw spacing. Okay, 16 inches apart on walls, 12 inches apart on ceilings. Okay. Man, this is nice. I'm glad I got this bit. Alright, first piece hung. And to finish the concrete board, I decided to use mesh tape and thin set. So the idea is kind of similar to finishing drywall. You want to tape all of your seams and then pack them with this thin set and kind of feather it out to create as level of a surface as possible. And then I also use the thin set to fill in all of the screw holes. And then once the thin set was dry, I applied 2 coats of Red Guard. So Red Guard is a waterproofing membrane that you can paint on, and it goes on pink, and when it's dry, it turns red. So we did 2 coats of that, making sure to really get it into all of the cracks and all of the little bumps of the concrete board. You want to make sure that it's completely coated. This stuff is not that hard to work with. It's a little bit goopy, but it goes pretty quickly. And the first coat took me a little time to get it on because I really had to work it into the concrete, but the second coat took me maybe 20 minutes. It went really, really fast. Now, this stuff is a little stinky. My first coat, I did not wear a mask, and I didn't feel like it was like overpoweringly stinky while I was painting it on, but afterwards I definitely had a headache and felt a little bit nauseated, so I definitely recommend wearing a mask. I wore a mask for my second coat, so lesson learned, wear a mask. So we have come so far in this space, and this has been a very rewarding project. And like, I'm trying to decide, like, is this as involved as the kitchen project? I think it is. The kitchen project was bigger and there was just more space to cover up there. But as far as like the technical things that we've had to do in this basement, I do feel like so far the basement project has been a little bit more involved, but it has moved quicker because it's just a smaller project. So today, I think I'm gonna work on finishing the drywall. So I wanna go through and sand everything. I feel pretty good about my drywall finishing so far. When I was doing drywall finishing in the kitchen, like for the ceiling patching that I had to do, I found it very stressful. Like the taping and the mudding part of it for me was not that bad. Like I actually enjoyed that quite a lot, but the sanding was really rough. And put me into a couple of meltdowns. So I was really trying to avoid that this time and trying to be really conservative with the amount of drywall mud that I was using on the walls. And I don't think I'm gonna have too much sanding to do in here. And also the fact that it's the wall and not overhead, I'm hoping will be less stressful. So that's what I'm gonna work on today. So I wanna get all the drywall mud sanded down nice and smooth. And then I think I'm gonna try to get a coat of primer at least today. I may try to get some paint on the walls today, and then I can start tiling. So possibly tomorrow I will start the process of tiling the floors. So I'm gonna try a wet sanding technique that I saw somebody do on YouTube. So I'm just using one of these sanding blocks and I'm gonna wet it just a little bit, squeeze out the water. I'm hoping this will help reduce some of the dust. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's gonna work well. There's a little bit of dust, but it's nowhere near as much as when regular sanding. Yeah, that works pretty well actually. Feels good. Nice. So I have decided to paint the walls in here the same color that I used to paint the base cabinets in our kitchen upstairs. I just really loved this color so much. I have a lot of it left too, and even if I do have to get a little bit more to do a second coat, I have a feeling I'll have to do 2 coats in here. But even if I do have to get a little bit more, I can just get like a pint to, finish off the second coat, because I really didn't use that much of this paint when I painted those cabinets. And the name of this paint is called Blue Metal, I think. And it's just a really dark gray blue. It's really pretty. And I want to kind of go for like a moody vibe in here. So I'm going to do the walls really dark. The tile will be a lighter color. And I just think it'll look really nice. So that's what I'm going to do. Gosh, I have I have barely used any of this. I don't even know how I managed to get away with that. Let's stir. Yeah, this should be plenty to do 2 coats. Hopefully, anyway.